And one of the keys to success is going to be the cooperation between young, innovative startups and established industry players. That is the focus of our next Sprint Chat, which is powered by Accenture. Let's bring up our panel now on growth in the ecosystem, big players meet startups. Our moderator is Riemensperger. Please come to the stage when I call your name. We also are joined by Huener, the head of innovation and management at Energie Baden-Württemberg, Bruno Ginnuth, the co-founder of CleverShuttle, and Martina Merz, who sits on the board of companies that you all know, like Lufthansa and Volvo. Welcome to our panel. Frank, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that very much. Our topic today, and we're going to be in a sprint, our topic today is big player meets startups. We are all looking for innovation, we are all looking for change, and it's really, really hard. And we wanted to do a deep dive. I have Martina Merz. She has worked 25 years with Bosch. Now she sits on supervisory boards of prestigious companies like Lufthansa, the Volvo Group, SAF Holland, and a few others. And she moved herself into a startup camp. So welcome, Martina. We have Huener. Uli is a digital pro, telco veteran, left an industry which went completely digital to go to another industry, the utilities, at EnBW now, head of innovation, which is going digital as we speak, and will share his experiences. And we have Bruno Ginnuth here. Bruno, you founded your own startup, and then a big player showed up. So we'll all talk about that. Let me start with Martina. Martina, your experiences with the big players. And many of these companies, are really overwhelmed with what's happening with that digital transformation. They're looking for change, they're looking for innovation, they're looking for new ways of growth, new sources of growth, but they find it extremely hard. Why is that so, and how can startups help?
So, good morning, first, everybody. I think big companies and successful companies, they are big today because they had in the past successfully implemented a so-called innovation process, which is more inside-out process. They use technologies or materials given in the market. They built products on that and sold it to their markets, and they successfully, most of them, became global players along this process. So a process which is more inside-out process. Now the challenge is to maintain such a process, to add another one which is more outside-in process. Today, customer interface is what's called customer journey, customer experience. Today, customers in a business-to-customer process, they want a product which suits their needs in their daily life. That means that big players have to consider now very, very diverse demands. And they have to do this in a certain speed. This leads to the fact that they have to add players, ecosystems. They learn from these ecosystems. They add startup approaches to their own culture. They work with these ecosystems. This is a kind of outside-in. They do this while they have to maintain their profitability. I think this is the challenge, to combine an inside-out and outside-in approach while you maintain or even grow your profitability. That's the challenge for the big players.
Thanks, Martina. And Uli, the way Martina describes this is, it's very logical. You see how this transformation could happen, but you have been in two different industries which are really going through a very difficult digital transformation. How hard is it really? Can companies change?
It's extremely hard. And it's easily said to connect these two worlds, but the truth is it's damn hard. For my time at telco, same thing happened. Everybody saw it coming. And yes, we have to find a way to work with startups, but let's face it, these two worlds, the corporate and the startup world, historically speak different languages. Yeah? And the question really is, how can you connect these two worlds? How can you find space where both can find themselves, talk the same language, and make something happen that both will benefit from? So I think what you need to do is create a space and a room where corporates meet startups on a neutral term and turf, where they both bring their assets together. This is easily said because it means leaving the startup develop and leave them alone, at the same time opening your assets that you have, your customer base, because that's a big company's asset. They have good customers, they have trust, they have a brand, all that stuff that a startup really needs and wants to find. So, you know, in both worlds, bringing them together in a space where they talk the same language, you have a chance to make that happen. There is no blueprint, so, you know, what we have done fits perfectly for EnBW, including being able to invest in startups that have value, but every company will have to find their own way doing this.
So Uli, you say it's about cultural change and basically creating an environment where the best of both worlds come together. And you say no blueprint, no school solution. You really have to figure out how it works.
Yeah.
Bruno, you founded a startup, CleverShuttle. What does CleverShuttle do?
First of all, thank you a lot for this invitation. It's very exciting sitting here and having a microphone in hand to share this experience. CleverShuttle is a driving service currently running operations in Leipzig, Munich, and Berlin. And what we do is people transport. We move people from A to B. From a customer perspective, we are very cheap. We guarantee a price which is 50% below taxi tariff. And we are very sustainable, meaning we only use electric vehicles for this kind of people transport. The special thing about it is that we developed an algorithm who recognizes and finds out when customer requests are similar to each other. So when people are traveling on similar routes, they are bundled or pooled together in one vehicle. And this way, they save cost and we boost our capacity utilization. Deutsche Bahn invested in February into our company and gave us the opportunity to launch Leipzig and Munich. And yeah, we are very happy about this.
So let me ask, how does this work? You know, Martina told us at the end of the day, and I think I truly agree to that, the old innovation process from inside out is going to change to outside in. Uli said, let's create a space where startups and big player kind of work with each other eye to eye. Is that what you experience? Or do you wrestle with a big gorilla every day?
I'd say the collaboration with Deutsche Bahn the last 6 months is working pretty well, in particular when top management is involved. When we get in touch with middle management, it's getting tricky. The problem is Deutsche Bahn, you need to know everything is about process. They have processes for almost anything except for CleverShuttle, because we are the new player. And so this is a blessing and a curse at the same time. On the one hand, we can do whatever we want. We have full autonomy. On the other hand, it can take terribly long to get what you want. And I would agree that the crux is that many people, in particular middle management, they have a complete different work culture compared to us. Without judging, but a normal middle manager from Deutsche Bahn started his career at Deutsche Bahn, and he feels accountable for the processes I just mentioned. He feels uncomfortable to do anything outside these processes. So when we come up and we ask for a wish, it can take ages, and this causes frustration and friction. And one thing Deutsche Bahn did, which in my opinion doesn't fight the source but a symptom, they gave us an on-site consultant from their company who's sitting all the time in our office, working on our project. Ulrich König is called, 57-year-old, very experienced, and this guy knows Deutsche Bahn really for the last 30 years.
So he's your change manager.
He's the guy who gets us what we want from Deutsche Bahn, because for us this is a huge, complex organization, and we don't get really in. So, but it's necessary to have somebody on site to get what you want and to get in good contact.
I think this already gets to our first pivotal point of the discussion. You know, actually, the big companies know how to do it, but they are not prepared for you. You know, at the end of the day, the top wants it, the top wants the innovation, and then you come to the middle management, people who have to deliver metrics, who are trained to do processes. If you deviate a process, you get punished. You have to deliver the quarterly profitability. Now, Martina, how do you change a culture of a big player to really start working with startups? What does a big player do to prepare himself?
I have a hard time not to say we do it with a process. So,
Would that work?
No, actually there are structural enablers, of course, and structural enablers like, for example, the decentralization of decision power. So I think all big players consider now or are in the middle of a process where they restructure their companies in order to empower the teams which are close to the customers. So means you shift decision power close to the customer. That's a structural enabler, but that's at the same time a cultural enabler, because in the past, often corporate carriers were driven by people who were the most, let me say, mature in running companies' processes. In the meantime, you want really these business people, and in order to help these business people to find an environment where they grow, you need decentralized units, standalone units. This is the reason why all the big players have their startup companies they work with. They have on-site extra work environments, and last but not least, venture capital funds where they support startups. So they combine activities at home with combines. So it's a structural enabler to change the own culture.
Let me just ask a follow-up question. If you were a startup today and you were looking for the big gorilla, the big player to help you, what are your knockout criteria as a startup? What would you look at in a big company where you say, yep, that's a company I worked with, and no, with that company I'm not going to work as a startup? What would be your criteria?
Of course, I would first look whether the people I should work with, that's the absolute key, whether I find a group of people where I'm sure that they support my ideas and my way of working. So I think it's still a people business, we are all in, and that's the number one I would do. And of
sponsorship.
Course, sponsorship, to find on the other side people who support the ideas. And last but not least, I provoke a little bit Bruno. I think this middle management tale is a too strong argument, to be honest.
Here we go. Let's sort that out. Uli, you have a lot of experience with startups. Actually, at EnBW, you're running a portfolio of startups. Let's just turn it around. You know, I would be interested in your view. Is middle management the blockage, number one? And number two, if you select for a startup, what are you looking for to make it successful?
Let me come back to the question from the startup point of view. I would not go to a corporate if I have the feeling that the next best thing they do is integrate myself into some weird organization where like old school processes take over. I would look for a company that values what I do and helps me with internal resources to grow my business and scale my business. That's what I would be looking for if I would be a startup. From that point of view, we try to anticipate that, and we created a room where we can be independently acting from processes that have been in place for 100 years. You know, take us as an example. We've been running big plans for decades, and of course, the HR process, the technology process, the controlling process fits that business model. Now that, we all know, is not what helps a startup. So I think leadership is an issue, but you need to, I mean, that takes time. Cultural change is years. It's a thing, 3, 4, 5 years at minimum. You can't wait because the good startups are gone then by then. So create a process space that is more like a startup environment where you have your typical processes, lean, agile, business model canvas, design thinking. Those are languages every startup knows. And so if you create that space and work together, creating value, and not only having one guy keeping you the bridge into the organization like in Deutsche Bahn, but in my case, you have a whole team that does nothing. Every day we try to keep your backs free, because the corporate reflex are there. I mean, they always, any chance they have, they come out and they try to pull you back in what they know, which is natural. Yeah? It's very natural. But we think, give the organization a chance to calibrate into the new world, to understand what digitalization really means for something that you have valued for 100 years. That's a tough one for everybody of us. So I think you'll have to find a way, take them along, give them time, the middle management, the leadership. It all starts with top management, of course, but still do what's good for a startup, for the new world that you are entering into.
So that's cool advice from the big players to the startups. Let me just summarize, like, what the big players are saying, if you're a startup, you're looking for the gorilla, find people who support your ideas, who have the right values, which are open for change, give you a space where you can lift your own ideas. Let's call that distinct but connected, and make sure you get the resources to scale, because startups is about scale.
And may I add one thing? What's important is that you don't do this in theory for years, but if you're lucky, you have some good examples and proof that this stuff works. So
look at the startup which chose that big player before, and how did that startup do?
Yeah, and then you get the organization behind this issue as well.
Yeah. Bruno, did you do that? Or did Deutsche Bahn just knock on your door and said, here, it's me? What was your criteria to select them?
Well, we didn't know Deutsche Bahn before, but Deutsche Bahn is very important for us due to the customers and obviously due to the money as well. And we didn't know, we had a certain image in the head what Deutsche Bahn is. They're not supposed to be very innovative. However, what was good is that they introduced us directly to the board of directors, to Dr. Grube as well, and at least at this level, we also really felt a lot of support for this. I would also come to the point that I think companies, when they try to get into new business models, Deutsche Bahn, something apart from railway services, they also need new people, at least a new mix of teams. And at least at Deutsche Bahn, I observed that they have too many of one kind. And this is, it's now very simplified, but it's a certain risk-averse type of guy who is happy to have a job. He's accountable for his processes, and that's done. And the problem is that they need somehow to become attractive for people who at least try to get into to follow a new path, and they aren't at the moment. And it's a huge HR job.
So what you're saying is, I love the board support, I love their money, but check out the second level as a startup.
At least for the departments who deal with new businesses.
Yeah. Do you have your room, which Uli talked about? Do you have the space where you can do your stuff connected, or are you kind of caught?
We're trying to set it up, but unfortunately, we don't have this room. And we are in a very early stage, so Deutsche Bahn is a facilitator. We are very grateful. We get money, advertisement, cars, etc. But to get a real integration of our service into their service, we need this room, and we don't have it yet. We are working on it.
What are you doing to get that? What is the power base of a startup?
Top management pressure, at least in a very hierarchical company like Deutsche Bahn. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that this point gets across. I think the sense of urgency is there. I mean, a corporate is more willing to go into that transformation and understand what they need to do. This is a question of capability, of space for new business models. The biggest problem you have is if your business is kind of stable and just marginally going down, because then top management says, oh, everything is fine, we can do cost cutting and so forth. In the utility area in Germany, that's a different story. I mean, we have a burning platform. I mean, nothing is the way it used to be. So we need to, get ourselves ready to do this transformation.
I think that's good advice, Martina. You sit on the supervisory board of several companies, EI watching the C-level. What do you do to make sure that these companies are open for new ideas on the board?
Actually, my perception is it does not need any wake-up call anymore.
Okay.
I think everybody is fully aware, anybody is fully aware what has to happen. In everybody's business, there is a transformation of the marketplace, and everybody has to find its future. So my experience is all the players know what to do. The executive committees in these companies, they have to qualify themselves for these challenges as soon as possible. I think we have in Germany, is my honest opinion, we have a kind of competence issue in terms of digitalization and transformation in a certain level in the companies. And we need to, everybody, and Bruno, on all levels, we have to accept that these guys have to learn. They make mistakes on that level also. And we should see what they are doing to learn. Not so much criticize what they are not doing. Sorry that I'm saying this. What counts is that people go out and say, I have no clue, but I want to learn. I go in a startup center, I want to learn. When you see all this tourism to the Silicon Valley, probably the best business nowadays is to make a travel agency to the Silicon Valley, because all German top managers have to have the check mark, I was there for 3 weeks. And what I think what we all should do is we should open the interfaces, and we should see that it's a challenge for a top manager to go down to the lowest level of his organization and to say, I need to learn something. That's not so easy.
If they don't do that, do you change the people?
I think they will do that. I'm absolutely confident that they will do that.
So it's basically go digital or go out.
So it's all what the appel. What I want to say here is let's open the interfaces between all of us. Yeah. I think startup can learn from management, management can learn from startups. It's all that we have more and more meetings like this here, where we meet and talk. But we should not say them and we. This them and we is not helpful to develop a successful economy.
10 seconds, just watching our time, or 15 seconds closing statement.
It's all about mindset, starting from the top.
Mindset, Bruno?
Yeah, in-depth collaboration, yeah. And
collaboration.
Change.
Martina?
Yeah, it's just what I said. Let's play a team. Let's be a team.
Team play.
For changing our society.
Yeah. I think that brings it good together. I think what you said is it's a leadership task, the collaboration between the big and the new. It's about empowering people, it's about empowered people, it's about support, personal sponsorship, it's about funds, and basically learning from each other and having that open mind. It's not a technology question, it's a people question. And if the right match is made, it seems like it can be very successful. Thanks a lot, panel.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Frank.
that.